drive, my goal. I think they ready for me. I think they calling for me. I think they waiting for me. I hear them calling. I hear them calling for me. Mind open, eyes closed. My journey, my road, my drive, my goal. I hear them calling. I remember when my days were so unsure. Not knowing what I'm living on this earth for. Now I know that I am what I lust for. Plus more representing Prince George for awards. Like the little nigga standing at the bus stop, scared cause he fears that he's near to a gun pop. Headphones in his head, disappears from this world. Reappears in the realm of the hip hop. Just watch how we turn his whole life around. When everybody tried to tell him he was hellbound, but he smiles now, knowing he's the reason for the powwow. Bow down to the brother on the cloud. Okay, that's what they say when they see me on the stage. Hitting on the page, take a rave in the rave. So I'm living here right now, like it's my last day. Hey, mind open, eyes closed. My journey, my road, my drive, my goal. I think they ready for me. I think they calling for me. I think they waiting for me. I hear them calling. I hear them calling for me. Bring down, down, down. Oh no, oh no. Bring down, down, down. Oh no, oh no. Hey, mind open, eyes closed. My journey, my road, my drive, my goal. I think they ready for me. I think they calling for me. I think they waiting for me. I hear them calling. I hear them calling for me. Mind open, eyes closed. My journey, my road, my drive, my goal. I hear they calling. Mind open, eyes closed. My journey, my road, my drive, my goal. I think they waiting for me. I think they calling for me. I hear them calling for me.
What's up? What's up? Welcome back to another episode of the Sil Higgins Fitness and More Show. Today we are going to be talking about numbers. What the hell are they? What do they mean? We're talking about numbers on produce. We're talking about numbers as far as your BMI and body fat percentages, okay? We're going to tell how to read those numbers and what they really mean, okay? All right, but before we get all into that, hope everybody had a good week out there. I have been doing a lot, being productive and doing yard work, and I actually did go for the run like I said I was going to last week, which was cool. Wasn't as bad as I thought. I think that there may be something with this vegan pescatarian lifestyle, meaning I don't do outdoors well for too long in this climate, in this area. I've always had bad allergies. They were worse. They cleared up when I moved out to Phoenix, Arizona. And so I didn't have problems there, but every time I came back here, I had severe problems when the seasons changed. So I was able to run. I had grass blowing up my nose from people cutting their lawn and like all kind of stuff, and I didn't get sick at all. So it might be something to it. I mean, typically I would have definitely had some issues right now, okay? Like, could not believe. So I am going to kind of give some of those props to living a healthy lifestyle. I can't help it because before this wouldn't be possible. All right. So I did, and found out that a little circle around my neighborhood is like 2.5 miles or something like that. So I have a start time now. I'm gonna do it a couple days a week, so we can get that time down to something pretty cool, right? Or back to at least what it was, right? So enough about that. I'm glad that it hasn't been raining. It was raining for like days, and my grass is like 8 feet tall to the point where my dog doesn't want to go outside, but he doesn't want to go in the backyard for anything. But anyway, we're handling that. Well, I'm handling that situation. We're handling that situation this week. And that'll be another thing done. All right? So it's a beautiful day. Birds are chirping, all that good stuff. All right? So let's go kind of go into it. Let's see here. I did cook this week, too. That was another thing that I did that I said I hadn't done in a while from last week, right? So this week I got off of my other job, and I went to the grocery store, and I was like, I want something good. And I literally just walked through the produce section and started picking up stuff, which was, baby bell peppers. I picked up some red onions, cilantro, green onions. I picked up a bag of shrimp, Spaghetti squash was the main thing that I wanted. I hadn't had in a while, so I had to throw that together, right? Cook that in the oven with some seasoning on. I'm not gonna tell all my secrets because you'll get that soon, okay? We'll throw that back in later on for this recipe. This is pretty good though. So threw that all in the pot, sauteed it up, cooked the shrimp separately as well, threw it in there afterwards, and dinner was slamming, right? All vegetable base except the shrimp, of course, but all plants. So it was great for you, and it was filling. I didn't have to eat a whole bunch. You know what I mean? Just had enough, and it was good. Like, no guilt, nothing. It was great. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Producer says, engineer says, yeah, shrimp are just swimming vegetables, okay? And some people there going like, what? Well, I hear swimming insects. I've heard, yeah, that's what I've heard too, swimming insects or insects of the sea. Either way, they were good. How about that? All right. It wasn't like, I was going to say it wasn't like some animal that's walking around and pooing in your grass. But honestly, I'm starting to get that feeling like, what's the difference? You know what I mean? I'm starting to evolve a bit from pescatarian to straight vegan because, in a sense, it's like, I think what got me is seeing all of the Thailand videos, or no, I'm sorry, not Thailand, but I forget which country it is, but it has the dog eating festival. Where is that, Jacob? That's Korea, right? Yeah, so when they do that, they had they're burning them alive and stuff like that, and I was just like, damn, like why the internet is so just foul for showing me this right now, right? And so I'm sitting there, of course, and I'm looking at Conrad like, I'd be ready to hurt somebody if they did that to him, And then I'm like, okay, but that's an animal. We're eating animals. I'm starting to feel like the little kids that are talking about, being vegan. Anyway, I'm going to get over it. No, I'm not. I'm not saying I'm going to get over it like that. But, I'm just saying it's starting to evolve. I think I'm going even further. But then I'm from the DMV. We eat blue crabs. It's crab season. It's a process. Who knows? We'll see where it is next year, okay? And anyway, going through that. So one cool thing that I stumbled upon or I noticed when I was in the grocery store is the produce numbers. And I don't think I've spent time with you guys going over what exactly they mean. Shout out to Ebony. Shout out to Crystal. I see you guys. Thanks for viewing in. Wanted to go ahead and take a look at that. A lot of times we pick up these produce items and we have no idea what the numbers mean, right? So let's first look at some of the numbers and what they mean, all right? So most of the numbers, and it was cool because the numbers that I got from going to the grocery that night, all the numbers began with a 4. Okay, so like the squash, the number was it was a 4-digit number starting with a 4. Same for the green onion, red onion, cilantro, and the peppers all began with a 4. So what that means is basically any produce with the number 4 in front of it, starting with a 3 or a 4, and is 4 digits, means it's conventionally grown, okay? Now, what that means in agricultural terms is the method of growing the plants or vegetables is opposite of organic. So this means that they use pesticides, they use chemicals, and synthetic processes to grow the food, okay? So it's not saying that it's modified, it's just saying that they use chemicals to grow it, to help grow it, okay? Yeah, so, we keep that in mind. So then I start looking at what I eat. I'm like, oh, my gosh, they're still killing us. Like, they're still getting me a little bit because they're using these pesticides and stuff to grow the vegetables, but it's something to keep your mind on. Actually, I would like to relook at that, too, for the red onion because you can buy that organically as well. So anyway, moving on. So keep in mind that conventional growth also means like conventional farming, which means it's probably like, especially if you energy buffs out there as far as like the solar system and the environment, they pretty much, are going to use a high level of energy to also produce their products and stuff like that. So energy and resources, they're those things aren't, reduced by their process of growing because it isn't that concerned. It's more of to get it done, get it grown, and get it out sold, right? All right. So moving right along to the organic. Organics are the 5-digit numbers that start with the 9. Okay. So remember, the crazy thing about this, right? It says organic, right? Remember when we did the organic show and we talked about organic being organic certification or organically grown only has to be about 90 or 51% organic to be organically certified to say that it was grown organically, right? And so then they say organically or certified organic to have that seal says contains more than 95% of certified organic. So even the organic, what they're saying is of that 51% that's slid through and said organic, only about 95 of that is actually organic of that 51%. So half of the other half may or may not be is basically what that means in a weird way. All right. So, but that's what it means. So, if your number doesn't start with that 9, then it's not organic. All right. But if that's what you're looking for and that's what you go through, that's what you prefer rather, go ahead on, do your thing, get the organic, make sure it's starting with a number 9. All right. So the next one there is genetically modified organisms, right? Or GMOs. All right. So this is a 5-digit starting with an 8. Okay. And as you see there, broccoli is one of them. Broccoli is one of them. Another word for genetically modified, some people are not sure, some people haven't been aware of. Hybrid foods are still, something that's not grown in a while, but genetically modified, let's go by as far as definition so that we can stick with. Genetically modified foods, also known as genetically engineered foods or bioengineered foods. Doesn't that all just sound like too scientific to be food? It's like a lot of modification going around, if you will. Like, come on. This is ridiculous here. Just all in the definition. It says fake, 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 and fake, and fake. And it's sad because this is what we're talking about food here. So that kind of bothers me here. All right, so your GMOs. Yeah, and for vegetables, it's there. Fruits and vegetables, okay? This food is produced from organisms that have had changes introduced into their DNA using methods of genetic engineering. So let me back that up. These are foods produced from organisms that have had changes introduced into their DNA using the methods of genetic engineering. Genetic engineering techniques allow for the introduction of new traits as well as greater control over the traits that previously mentioned, such as selective bleeding and or mutated bleeding. Okay. So, yeah. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. When I read, when I read the first part of that, foods produced from organisms that have had changes introduced to their DNA using some method of genetic engineering. You know what I think about? I think about them genetically engineering us, right? To the point of mutation. So which means that, like, can you imagine like a third arm just hanging out of your back or something? Like, to me, that's what you're doing to your vegetables, right? You're trying to make them perfect, but in fact, you're mutating them, right? So, and another key to the vegetable eating and the plant-based, right? The worse the fruit or vegetable looks, and I don't mean just bruised up, like you look like it looks like it went through a war, but I'm talking about the shape of it and things of that nature. The rougher it looks is probably the more natural it is, okay? If you think about, like, I think I said the baby carrots earlier. I said something else as well. But like the baby carrots, those are genetically modified. They add chemicals to brighten it. They do so much to those things to make them. It is all a process. You're better off eating a real big, funny shaped carrot. Like, seriously, come on. But that's what they've done, genetically modified our vegetables. So now we're eating them and we want everything to look perfect. Another thing that brought me to thinking is just how the mindset is. And the mindset spills over into everything that we do, right? So the mindset of someone who has to have the perfect looking vegetable. And probably everything has to look perfect to them. If it's down to your vegetable, I mean, come on again. What are we saying here? My vegetables are ugly? Like, here's the term of, what would you say, Jacob, earlier about the ugly vegetables? What were you talking about? Yeah, all vegetables are supposed to be ugly. They're not supposed to be a pretty vegetable. I mean, that just goes to show you the mindset of our culture, what it has become. Like, yeah, the people are so plastic. Everybody wants some kind of surgery or something to look a certain way. And if they actually ate the ugly vegetable, they wouldn't look so ugly. Isn't that crazy? Like, not only would they not look ugly, but they wouldn't think in an ugly way. Why? Because remember, these vegetables and fruits control the way we think and the way we act because it feeds our cell membrane. So it all ties in. You eat these plastic vegetables, these fake genetically modified foods, and you looking all crazy and thinking all crazy and acting that way. It's all right there. Y'all better come on, stop playing with me. All this genetically modified stuff. I mean, and this thing goes on and on and on. Like, okay. One of the biggest debates for like French fries was who has the best French fries for like the fast food place. And McDonald's was always in their runnings. It's always McDonald's fries against someone else's fries, right? Let me tell you guys, like, again, so, I research and I do my thing and I see stuff and I'm like, oh my gosh, right? Genetically modified. This is the craziest way of modification to think on this level. Like, this is serious mind messed up thinking, all right? So we're going to talk about this. I want you guys to see this video on McDonald's fries, what they do, well, how they get them to look and taste the way that you love them all, okay? So check this video out.
Fast food companies and other food processors drive down the cost of food relentlessly and force economies of scale and efficiencies, or what are called efficiencies, on farming. And I'll just give you one example. If you go to McDonald's, anywhere in the world, you will find French fries, or chips, as you call them, and you will find that they're always made from the same potato, the russet Burbank potato. This is a potato from America that's unusually long and difficult to grow, but that's what they want, because when you're McDonald's, you like those red boxes with a little bouquet of very long chips. It looks really good. And so they insist that all their potatoes be russet Burbanks, and they further insist that they have no blemishes at all. There's a very common defect of russet Burbank potatoes called net necrosis. And you've seen potatoes with a little brown line sometimes, or spots that come through it. Well, McDonald's won't buy them if your potatoes have that. And the only way to eliminate that is to eliminate an aphid. And the only way to do that is with a pesticide called Monitor that is so toxic that the farmers who grow these potatoes in Idaho won't venture outside into their fields for 5 days after they spray. And then when they harvest their potatoes, they have to put them in these atmosphere-controlled sheds the size of a football stadium because they're not edible for 6 weeks. They have to off-gas all the chemicals in them. So you see, the desire for a certain kind of chip leads to a certain kind of agriculture. But the other thing on the health side, when I started learning about nutrition, about which, by the way, much less is known than you might think, that the scientific understanding of nutrition is still very primitive. But I learned that what mattered most about one's health was not necessarily the nutrients, good or bad, that you were consuming or staying away from, or even the calorie counts. But what predicted a healthy diet more than anything else is the fact that it was being cooked by a human being and not a corporation. Corporations cook very differently than people do. They use vast amounts of salt, fat, and sugar, much more than you would ever use in your own cooking. And the reason they do that is those are three incredibly attractive and incredibly cheap ingredients. And when they're layered properly, as in a chip various pastries and forms of junk food, they're incredibly addictive. And in fact, people in the industry, they don't talk about addiction in the food industry, even though they traffic in addiction. They talk about craveability. It's the same thing. And snackability is another term they use. It's a lovely word. Anyway, so I came to see that cooking has a huge bearing on our health. And in fact, there's been a lot of research in America that shows that even poor women who cook have healthier diets than wealthy women who don't. So you see, the usual class bias in the quality of diet is overtaken by this fact, this key fact. Who's cooking your food?
He literally just said 10 seconds, 3, 2, 1. It is all good because you guys, I mean, seriously, you heard enough, right? So right there, McDonald's, your favorite fries, okay? Chemicals, toxic. Now, I'm going to break down to you. First of all, let's see. First facts, okay, these rustic, before we even go in there, the rustic Burbank fries, right? They said, well, that's the potato that they use to make the extremely long fries, to set up in this arched box and put in this red and yellow container, right? The box of fries. Let me tell you how, beyond this whole chemical thing that he just talked about, craveability, salt, all of that stuff to increase the crave for it. The reason why a lot of fast food places use the colors red and yellow is because it sticks into the brain. It stimulates something there, stimulates a connection there, and that's why they use it, all right? So not only are they getting you from the chemical and the taste and all of the senses there, the touch, how the texture, the taste, the smell of them, how they look, it's all there. They're getting you at all these angles. You guys have to be aware of this, and that's how they get you in. Beyond that, though, let's look at this chemical. In short terms, they call it monitor, right? And we're just going to stick to that, and then we don't have to go all into details on all that good stuff, right? So just on that alone, first of all, and it's used in other countries as well. Some of it is actually phased out in Brazil, but for some reason, in 2009, all the cases that they had against using this chemical were voluntarily canceled. So whoever was opposing, for some reason, stopped opposing, okay? So, they always say follow the money on things like this, all of this is politics, baby. That's how that all goes down. Like, seriously. I forgot I still had that up on there. Anyway. But for this chemical, they said, first of all, that the farmers won't go into the fields for 5 days after this has been sprayed. Then there's another 6 weeks of offset so that it's not poisonous into it is poisonous to the vegetable because this is what we're eating. But then so it's not, this toxicity isn't that high, right? 6 weeks of offset for that. Then when they finally get it to a place where it's passed legally to be edible, right? And that's what it is. That's all it causes. This chemical is still in this vegetable, okay? Remember too, potatoes are also a hybrid vegetable, okay? So it's meaning it's not going to grow in the wild. You're not going to see a wild field of potatoes, okay? So keep that in mind. So, but here's the thing too. They've also taken the level of chemicals and have rated them and given them a toxic class number, okay? So there's 4 main toxic class levels, all right? This chemical, the monitor, actually is number 1, meaning the highest, okay? So beyond what you've seen here, this is what it does here, too. It is the most toxic. This is what they have as a class 1 toxicity. It is a level 1. It is dangerously poisonous. So it is fatal if swallowed, poisonous if inhaled, extremely hazardous to the skin on contact, It is rapidly absorbed in the skin. Okay, it can cause corrosion in case if there's any eye damage. Okay, and it can also cause severe skin burns. Right? It says class 1 materials are estimated to be fatal to an adult human at a dose of less than 5 grams, in parentheses, less than a teaspoon. Okay? So you think less than a teaspoon of this chemical can be completely toxic or fatal at that. But this is what is used to grow your vegetables. This is part of the genetic modification. This is part of the growth process for this type of thing. All right, so these are what the numbers mean for those numbers. But this here is most important. This is the understanding. This is a piece. Now, this is just a piece. Understand that all of the pesticides, all of the chemicals used have some class level. All right, this is just a highlighting one. That's it. I've just highlighted one for you guys today. So imagine what all the other chemicals are doing to us as well, that they have to put them in a class this way. All right. This is the most toxic. And so now, like when you see, remember how McDonald's will have like the 85 billion served, numbers on the arches and all that. Like that's how many people have gone this way. This is how many people have like, oh my gosh, like almost died or have died. Or maybe you don't think that that's the actual reason why someone has, the health concerns that they had because they ate McDonald's fries. It could be a combination of all the pesticides that they have in your body. So like, here's one of the things, the things like this causes, and like I said, this is just one, but most of these chemicals are also tied to, when they really do the research of how we are struck with diabetes, heart disease, and all that good stuff, right? Hypertension, all of that, right? Because it's chemicals. Salt is one of them, that industrial salt that we're putting on our foods too. All of this has that effect. It all leads back to our longevity. When we see someone that has pretty healthy life, they watch what they ate, but they just still splurged on stuff here and there, and you're like, oh my gosh, why did it happen to them? Not knowing this information right here is why it happened. Okay, so we just got to keep that in mind. It's more than just, I want to lose weight, so I'm not going to eat those fries. It's more of, I want to live, so I'm not going to eat those fries, because I know that they consist of some toxic materials that are that high that it could kill me on sight. If it were to touch my skin, it would leave burns. That's what we want to focus on, how we change the mindset that way and help to alter that. I just want to eat what I want to eat. Okay. When we think about it this way, how many chemicals do I want to pump into my body? That affects everything. That affects what we do, what we think, how we act, right? Do I want these chemicals playing with the natural process of my body healing itself? All that good stuff, This is what we want to do. This is why we want to think that way, all right? So, again, it's more than just I'm tired of being fat and I'm not going to eat the damn fries. I want to live, so I'm not going to put these chemicals in my body, all right? So now, if you go ahead and have your big golden arch and your red and yellow box of Burbank potatoes, understand what you're doing. You got the information, so that's all that matters. All right? I did my part. You got to do yours because it's about you. All right? So we're going to move right along, okay? All right. The other numbers I wanted to discuss today, those numbers when we go to the doctor, right? We go to the doctor, we see that BMI, and you can go to the doctor for a cold. You can go to the doctor because you hurt your foot. Whatever you're going to do, whatever you're going for, the first thing they're going to do is check your weight, right? Check your vitals, check your weight. So when they print out that little sticker of your stats or however your medical providers do it, you get that BMI number. So when they look at that BMI, they tell you automatically, hey, need to lose weight. Or that BMI number is something that you may not even understand what it is or what it's saying or why it's important or what it's not, or why it's not important. And that's the most important. I want to discuss with you today why it's not important. We'll first talk about what it is, okay? So your BMI, right? So that's your body mass index. So basically is your weight in kilograms divided by the square of your height in meters. Okay, so basically it takes your weight and your height, divides them up. All right, so that's how they get the BMI. So what does that mean exactly? For some reason, our healthcare system has used this to rate obesity. But by these numbers, because it does not consider what the weight consists of, it's not an accurate number to go by to judge someone's obesity or body fat percentage. I mean, you can only use your body fat percentage to actually tell what you consist of, what your body consists of, meaning your lean mass versus your fat index or your fat mass, right? So your fat versus the lean mass that you carry on your body. That is basically your body fat percentages, okay? That's something that's used in bodybuilding a lot to how they measure their success, or actually it's what I use as well to measure someone achieving their goals, right? Where this comes in place is when it's someone who says, let's say they worked out hardcore for a month, they stuck to a good eating regimen, they look amazing, but they haven't lost any weight. Well, what happens is that weight, lean mass, muscle, weighs more than fat, so it carries differently on your body. So then what I do is I then take that weight, and then we take that and put it into a machine, and we scan for their body fat intake or their body fat that they're carrying around. And then this number, their body fat percentage, tells me if that number is going down, tells me that we're doing the right thing, okay? That tells me, okay, hey, they've lost body fat and they've gained some lean mass, which is what most people want to do anyway, all right? So that's how I rate that. But so that you know, like, I mean, you can take your own body fat percentage and, look at that. There's a little device that's actually very inexpensive. It's only about $20. And most people think that a device is super expensive. That's why they keep stealing them from gym locations, right? But it's a little DEXA scan monitor thing. It costs about $20. It's a good thing to use to have in the house, and it's step-by-step programmable to your height, your weight. You still need a scale because you have to have your weight to key it in order to get a successful reading or an accurate reading, okay? But it's something I say, well, it's better than a scale to have in the house, but you need the scale still, all right? So it monitors certain things. You still need that to put into the machine, okay? It's one of those devices that, like I said, will tell you exactly what's going on in your body. Okay, it will tell you, hey, I've gained some lean mass. I feel it. You've gained lean mass, so that means you've lost body fat percent and you've toned up. You've gained some mass, so then your clothes are fitting different. That's how you're looking good naked and all that good stuff, right? So they say dieting is when you want to lose weight. Working out is when you look good naked, right? So that's the difference there. But those are the numbers too, okay? So you can diet and lose weight. Yeah, but what does that weight consist of? Remember, when you're losing weight, you're also losing muscle mass a little bit, okay? So you want to keep in mind of that. That's a whole nother science and a whole nother day we'll get into when we talk about actually how to train for those particular numbers. However, as I was saying there, these numbers are what you need to look at. So let's look at, for example, a woman. Let's put up the chart there for a woman who maybe give you guys an example here. So let's say for a woman, anywhere from, it's a little bit cut off, but let's say from like 35 to 40 on there. So let's say that age group right there, that for them to be on average about 27 to 34% body fat. On average, that's where you want to be average. Ideally, and ideal you'll see on some charts says lean or athletic. okay, or fit. They use these terms interchangeably. That's something like for 22 to 27 there, for 36 to 40 years old. Yeah, so in that range, that's ideal to like, hey, I'm kind of on my game with my fitness level. I'm a little more than just active. I can maybe enter into a marathon or something, okay? That's what that looks like, all right? So keep that in mind when you're, that's a good place to gauge yourself. I know we have a lot of listeners from 36 to 40 and from 41 to 45 as well. These are some of the numbers you want to look for. But if you notice there, too, along the line of average, that number 35 seems to be the average number there, and I'm talking about for adults, which 35 is typically where I would want anyone to say that they're in a good average standpoint or a good average medium. They're not completely out of the woods from any diseases or anything, but they're at a level where physical activity shouldn't oppose too much stress on the body and just an average active daily living situation, right? So they should be pretty good, shouldn't be too winded, things of that nature, right? That 35 is something that I would recommend for all women, for most people too. And we can go into and look into the men's chart as well there. Kind of the same. Well, it's never kind of the same thing. Men, you always have a little less body fat, okay, and to be in a healthy range. But I would say for men, maybe 25 is something key to work for, just to maintain, to be at least okay. Like they say average, that's a good term too. I'm going to say okay. But to be average, I don't need medication to live type of deal. You know what I mean? So right there, about 25 for men. And we know that for essential fats for women who give life and, bring forth life and things of that nature, for all of women's bodily functions, our bodily functions, we need a little more essential fat on our body. So that's why it's always that difference between men and women. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. 25 is good for most of our adults that watch the show here. Most of our average 36 to, I would say 36 to about the mid 40s. You want to be there at about a 25. Yeah, so 30s to 40s, be right there at a good 25. And that's what the body fat numbers mean, all right? You see people there at who are bodybuilding competitions like Mr. James, a 70-year-old guy, 70 years young, I'm sorry. He for his show, even though his age group, you see that is down there, he still wants to be at probably at 15 or 18. He's older, but those young guys competing, those are the ones that want to be at the single digit numbers to get that money to win those prizes there for bodybuilding. So just something we want to keep in mind, something we can look at there. Of course, our body or our BMI numbers are totally different from there. And I remember when the Wii Fit first came out, right? So it's probably, and they had the Fit board and all that. Jacob, do you remember that? When they had the Fit board and all that? So yeah, it was super awesome, right? So that was a thing though that made me to start to kind of work for something. Sometimes we're visual and we need to see things, right? So the Fit board, I could use it and everything like that, right? But the damn BMI, when you program yourself, we used to program yourself on the Wii Fit, on BMI. And so when I would get on it, I was still maybe just under 300 when I got there. So I was probably high twos, The damn BMI thing would go all the way up off of the chart, right? And I was like, ain't this some shit? Excuse me, yeah, it would make comment, and it'll go dun dun dun, to make that little funny thing. I was like, but I do remember working, and it was something. It was actually how I started to weigh myself too, because it would it'd keep track of it, right? So again, for me, visual. I saw that all the time. I knew I needed to work on it. it's just one of those things I'm sharing, one of my life moments there. And that, for me, working out and seeing that number, even though it was the BMI, still, well, I was losing weight. I didn't know exactly what it consisted of, but for me, it was a start in losing weight. I knew that number was coming down. So my first goal was to get it to where it didn't go all the way up, to where it actually came down and showed some progress on the screen. So that was my first thing. And then it had the lines of, 35 or 30, obese. And I think they have on there like 25 is quote unquote normal, things of that nature. But it tracked and rated you all the way down. And that was just one of the things that kind of kept me motivated. I knew that if I was moving the scale down one way, the results that I really, truly wanted would eventually show up, right? And then again, that was early on in my fit journey. So, like I said, those little things, the BMI, body fat percentage, now it's all about, for me, the body fat percentage. I don't really care too much about what I weigh at this point. Maybe I got about like 15 pounds of fat that I know is going to come off, but I'm not super, thrilled about or super motivated to get the pound down. At this point, it's just body fat percentage. And so we'll share that with you next week. I scanned myself last week, but I didn't record it, so definitely will record it next week so I can show you guys the process, how we do it, and what it looks like, okay? So we'll follow that up next week so you can see it, so you can understand, and then, too, we'll track my progress together show by show because this summer is mine. I'm telling you, I'm super excited. I'm finishing up some stuff. I'm about to learn some new skills. Hopefully things go through right. So I am super pumped and excited about that and ready to share with you guys all that good stuff, right? So today we want to just simply take all that information, find your numbers. Hi, I'm Art. Hey, Bill, what's up? And what's up, Richard or Ricardo? My bad. Hey, everybody. All right. Thank y'all for viewing in. We will see y'all next week with way more information, way more testimonials, way more updates on everything. All right? See y'all. Peace.
Fresh, break down. Everybody know what I'm trying to do now. Hold it down for my hometown. Profound when it comes to doing me because I do it easily and it pleases me. How? So focused, mind open. But hope, I'm in with a motive. Soaking in a depth of my own ocean. Hoping that the whole world gets the notion. I've been waiting for this minute for a minute. Now I got it, I'm engulfed in a moment. Size mode, can't sugarcoat it. Beast mode, can't control it. Hold up, if you're looking for me right here with a pen, I'm in here to make it all clear that I gotta do it bigger and better and piecing the puzzle together.